game.
Hey guys, I am Trent for Trent Sense, and I am here to talk to all of you about my thoughts on the Nokia N8. After becoming familiar with S60 3rd edition, I began to get bored with it and I wanted to have some sort of refresher. And I thought that I found this in the Symbian Touch version of 5th edition. Unfortunately, it turned out that 5th edition was only a nightmare with the N97. Even though I was quick to dismiss the S3 OS on the N8, it was hard for me to ignore the hardware aspects of the phone. From the 12 megapixel camera with Carl Zeiss optics and xenon flash, to the anodized aluminum casing, even to the modern design with the non-user replaceable battery. I found that I was even more nervous in going back to a touch OS that didn't seem to be on the same level as iOS or even Android for that matter. Well guys, I am happy to declare that after getting over my initial fear of Symbian S3, the N8 turned out to be a very capable and worthwhile device in its own right. I was so impressed with the N8 that I ended up keeping it a lot longer than my usual 2-week period for reviewing a phone. So that should tell you guys something right there. Default appearance of S3, there are 3 main desktop screens that host 6 rectangular spaces for any kind of customized widgets you decide to install. What I initially liked about S3 in comparison to 5th edition was that it felt a lot more snappier in regards to sensing my fingertips for swiping home screens or touching on-screen commands. I also noticed that multi-touch was a definite upgrade from 5th edition, even though it may not have seemed to be on the same level with Android or iOS. Despite wanting a bit more of an increase with the screen size and the resolution, the N8 screen was not too bad at all. Watching any kind of video content on the N8's 3.5-inch screen was a terrific experience when you consider the vivid coloration and the overall visual clarity.
Io il film l'ho visto tutto, l'ho visto. Ve lo racconto io come是被可能看得黑。不会买吧，东尼。
The one speaker located on the back of the phone really was not too bad in giving a sufficient and well-rounded experience in listening to music or speakerphone calls.
Thank you for calling the Apple Store MacArthur Center. We are currently closed. For store hours and directions, press 1.
Now if you don't mind, leave. Will last forever till we fall apart. That look like mountains in the sky, next to mountains anyway.
As with previous Nokia devices, I noticed that signal reception for AT&T 3G worked extremely well, even in comparison to my Android devices. Now, when it came to me using Nokia Sports Tracker for GPS tracking on my daily runs outside, or Ovi Maps with free voice navigation, I came to find that GPS on the Nokia was extremely reliable.
After half a mile, turn left. Route recalculation. Now turn right.
Okay, now I am on the topic of the 12 megapixel camera with Carl Zeiss optics and the xenon flash. The camera on the N8 is the best camera money can buy with any smartphone today. If you have a standalone dedicated camera right now that's just a point and shoot and you buy the N8, take that point and shoot and put it in the closet. Lock it up, throw away the key. The N8 is that good. When I tell you that the N8 can easily replace a standalone digital point and shoot camera, I am dead serious. We're not talking about your typical smartphone camera that has dual LED flash. Oh, no. We are talking xenon flash combined with Carl Zeiss optics at 12 megapixels. It will also allow you to shoot breathtaking HD quality video at 720p, played back at 25 frames per second. Now, just when you thought that it couldn't get any better than that, Nokia also added dual microphones on the N8 to allow you to capture audio in stereo. From what I am seeing on the viewfinder, the picture looks very nice. I ended up damaging my Samsung Captivate, and I'll show you a glimpse of it right now. If you take a close look, and I'm also confident that the stereo audio in recording my voice is going to be pretty much pristine. Having xenon with the N8 camera can also be considered a double-edged sword because even though you can illuminate great areas in an instant with xenon, you also have to realize that you are unable to sustain any kind of lighting for shooting video. So any kind of application for a flashlight or a video light is simply out of the question. Battery life on the N8 for my typical usage was extremely impressive. With one charge, I was able to get 1.5 days of usage out of the device. To me, Nokia Social was a way to integrate both my Facebook and my Twitter account to the N8. And I have to say that the execution of the application really needs some improvement. There have been a number of stability issues where the application would freeze or basically just wouldn't connect at all to any of my online accounts. Now, when you consider other alternatives like Gravity or even Snap 2 for social networking, Nokia Social comes across as very primitive, and I can only hope that Nokia sends out updates to be able to bring this up to par with those other two applications. My two main pet peeves with the N8 are text entry and the default web browser. When it came to inputting text through the virtual keypad in landscape mode, I never felt comfortable enough to do any kind of quick typing with my thumbs. Typing with that keypad ended up being more of a chiclet pecking experience, and I really didn't come to like it at all. In order to generate text in portrait mode on the N8, you have to use T9. T9. Now don't get me wrong, once you get used to T9, it can be very fast, it can be very convenient, and that's not my issue. My issue is if an application like Opera Mobile can generate a portrait QWERTY keypad, why can't Nokia do the same thing with S3? I just don't get that. So I hope that soon Nokia can address this with some kind of software update. The default browser does indeed support playback of flash videos, which it's always done on any Nokia. However, I found the interface of the default browser to be extremely clunky in comparison to what I've experienced on other alternatives like Android and even Windows Phone 7. A great alternative happened to be Opera Mobile, available from the Obi store. Even though it did not support playback of flash videos, I still found it to be a lot more responsive in regards to my fingertips navigating through the web pages. I found the total size and weight of the N8 to be extremely perfect for everyday usage. Overall, it felt about the same size as the Nexus 1, but just a bit thicker. And feeling the weight in my hand from the metallic components and the Gorilla Glass and the chrome accents, it really gave me a sense of the high-end quality that I was so used to from Nokia having great physical construction in all of its phones. Now, when people look at the 680 megahertz CPU on the N8 in comparison to the 1 gigahertz superphones that are already out there, it may be easy for them to not give the N8 any credit, but I think it's dangerous to underestimate the phone in that manner. I think it's quite impressive that when you consider the amount of functionality and the amount of multitasking and the amount of battery life that you're getting from the N8, I think it's quite impressive that it can do all of that with 680 megahertz instead of requiring 1 gigahertz from the CPU. Now, unfortunately, since I don't have an HDMI cable, I was unable to test out the HDMI out feature on the N8, but I'm quite sure that there are other reviews out there that do just that. Despite the two big negatives that I had mentioned earlier for the N8, I have to say that overall it is not that bad of a device to live with day in and day out. I really found it to be quite dependable in my everyday duties with a smartphone. Now, what makes the N8 special to me is its hardware. With hardware being so pristine, with the 12 megapixel camera, to the Gorilla Glass, to the metallic components, to the way that it feels in my hand, all of that makes it hard to ignore the phone. All of those elements in that smartphone package really helped me to appreciate even more the improvements of S3 over 5th edition. So overall, if you have an open mind to be able to look at Symbian from a different perspective instead of being caught up in iOS, Android, and even Windows Phone 7, I think that the N8 could be the phone for you to look at, especially if you're all about creating media and taking in media content with your phone. Quite honestly, I would have to say that the N8 was a great experience because it was an appropriate prelude to my wanting to go to the Nokia E7, which I will have for you guys sometime later on in the near future, hopefully, fingers crossed. With all that being said, that's my review on the Nokia N8, and I hope that all of you guys take care and stay safe.